South Dakota will have a third Division I program within the next decade. Augustana plans to move its athletic program to the highest level of competition in the NCAA. As we told you earlier in our newscast, Augie formally announced plans to move from Division II to Division I in their strategic vision press release, Vision 2030. The deadline for Augustana to withdraw from the NSIC and begin a transition next year is December 31st. In order to make the transition, Augustana will have to secure a membership in a Division I conference. It's expected that they will be invited to join the Summit League, which is based out of Sioux Falls. It includes former North Central Conference rivals South Dakota and South Dakota State. If they meet the deadline, they'd play next year in Division II and then begin a 4-year transition period in which they would be ineligible for postseason play. What this will do to football and wrestling remains to be seen, since the Summit League does not offer either sport, and the Vikings would have to find either a conference for them or possibly look into cutting them. Stay tuned to KDLT for more on this developing story. The last time Matthew Moores and his Yankton Bucks were in Sioux Falls, they left the floor of the Denny Sanford Premier Center with a AA state championship trophy. 9 months after that magical week in March, Moores and his top-ranked Bucks returned to Sioux Falls to play Brandon Valley in the Pentagon. This was a dandy in a throwback classic. There's the man himself getting that one to dance and drop, and that'd be pretty impressive for Creighton coach Greg McDermott, who was watching up in the sky. The Lynx, they are not going away, though. They work this one inside and get the bucket, and Brandon Valley actually led by 3 after a quarter. Nebraska coach and Dolan native Tim Miles also in attendance. His team's going to play at the Pentagon on Sunday against Oklahoma State, and he saw Moores make a beauty of a pass right there to Miles Carter for 3 as the Bucks went ahead. More good passing, though, from Brandon Valley as they work it inside to Evan Talcott. He lays it in. We were a 4-point game, Yankton up at half. This thing went to overtime. We're still tied in the OT. This finished courtesy of our friends at Midco. Yankton misses the 3, but Rex Ryken at the buzzer gets it to go. And what a great game at the Pentagon as Yankton gets the win, 62-60. But congrats to both. Heck of a game. Same 2 teams in the girls' game, with Brandon Valley ranked 2nd in AA. Pick it up in the second quarter. They were actually down 9-5 after 1. Here come the Lynx, though. Hannah Behrens with the hoop and the harm as their team draws even. And they're on a 10-0 run for Marks Stadium. It's Trinity Law laying down the law at the bucket. A 14-0 run gives Yankton a 10-point lead. Now, gives Brandon Valley a 10-point lead. Yankton finally stops the bleeding on a nice backdoor cut by Madison Wubin. But they just didn't have enough after that big run. It's Ashley Wells going to come open after they get the offensive rebound, and she'll knock home the 3 ball as Brandon Valley, ranked 2nd in Class AA, wins it 57-41. Elsewhere in Sioux Falls, 3rd-ranked Roosevelt's boys going across town to square off with Washington. Here come the Warriors early on. Jet Anderson with the fast break layup as Washington gets out to a 5-0 lead, and more from the home team. Gabe Person for 3 of his 24. Warriors lead by 2. However, Roosevelt would start to take over slowly but surely after that. It's Carson Devricks down low to Brady Dannenbring as the Riders take their first lead, 14-12. A little bit later, it's Tucker West from the land of 3 to give them a 5-point lead. He had 16 points as Roosevelt goes on to get the victory, 64-49. The young Sioux Falls Stampede have been riding the roller coaster this 2018-19 season. From the high of a great start to losing 8 of 9, the Herd hope they're back on their winning ways after taking 2 of their last 3 in the win column. Tonight they open a 3-game homestand, hard hitting against Dubuque in the first period. Jackson Stauber with a glove save for the home team. We were scoreless after 1. In the second, it's Sam Stevens. He's going to get a look right here as he comes open on the wrister, but it's stopped by Michael Thiessen, and we remain scoreless. Now, Stauber would get another save moments later. It was actually a pretty rough night for him, though. He would give up 4 goals in the period. The Herd fell behind 4-1, but they would rally to win in overtime. 5-4, they'll host Green Bay for the first of 2 starting tomorrow night. Well, we're less than 24 hours from the biggest game in South Dakota State football history. A second shot at North Dakota State in the FCS semifinals. Their first meeting back on September 29th was the game of the FCS regular season, with the teams trading leads several times before NDSU ultimately scored in the 4th to go ahead for good and win 21-17. In that game, SDSU got out to a 7-0 lead and was threatening to make it 14-zip when this end-zone interception turned the game around. Those are the kind of mistakes the Jacks haven't made since that game and certainly can't afford to make again in the rematch.
We're rewatching the tape and seeing how far we've come since then. We made a lot of mistakes in that game, and we just weren't clean. Not clean enough to beat a team that's of that caliber. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just correcting those mistakes.
I like to say not not make it bigger than it is. You know, at the end of the day, it just comes down to playing football, going out there, having fun, and just focusing on your job and just executing things.
I think the key is, and the difference needs to be, you don't know when you're going to win the game. It could be the first play of the game that has a huge impact in the game. And so our guys, to me, the key is taking the field and knowing when I'm out there, I can impact the game.
Kickoff tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Some other news, of course, Chris Kleiman had taken the Kansas State job. He's the current NDSU head coach. They're going to promote within as Matt Entz, their current defensive coordinator, will become the NDSU head coach whenever the Bison's playoff run ends, which will hopefully be about this time tomorrow night. We'll be right back in one moment.